Riveter Nation? It's Halo the Riveter coming at you this beautiful, fantabulous morning. Alright guys, so I'm going to dive right into today's video. It's either going to be, well, it is not either, it is going to be pros versus cons of the 2020 Iron 1200. So those of you who don't know, my only reference that I have as far as this bike goes is going to be the Street 500 because that was my first bike. Alright, so I thought long and hard about this. That's what she said. Am I supposed to start off with the pros or the cons? And my conclusion is I am actually going to tell you all the pros first, because you're going to get all the cons and leave and not hear anything good about this bike. And I think this bike has a tremendous amount of potential to offer you in your moto journey. Okay, so as far as going with the pros of this bike, there's so many of them. All right, for those of you who don't know my story, like I said, I am transitioning over from a Street 500. So that's going to be my reference as far as what I'm comparing this bike to. Okay, pros. So besides the amount of power, man, you gotta look before you just pull out like that. It's ridiculous. So besides the amount of power, I am going to say that it's pretty significant. Like I said, I am coming from the Street 500. This bike does have some get up and go. I love it. So of course, starting out with the 1200, oh my gosh, 1200cc engine, it's great. It's a great bike if you're looking for something that is mid-range, not quite a soft tail, but not quite the Iron 883. It's a great bike to go into. So mid-range bike, you know, this is probably for like beginners or somebody who just wants to take a bike and absolutely crush it in the aftermarket game, because this bike has a ton of potential as far as aftermarket parts go. You can do a lot to this bike. You can change it. You can go in pretty much any direction with this bike, is really what I love about it. For those of you who maybe haven't seen my previous videos, I'm very biased towards the blacked out scheme of this bike. So I'm glad it doesn't have a ton of chrome on it. I just think it looks a lot better blacked out. That's my personal opinion, so I am going to go with that. Some of the modifications I'll probably go over with you guys later, but I am going to get some turn signal lights a little bit better, and probably get them like with a smoke cover on them, just to black out more of this bike, you know, that as much blacked out as I possibly can. So power is a great one. The second thing that I love about this bike that I'm really happy with is the bars. So Harley Davidson classifies these as mini apes, is what they call them, but it's a very aggro style of riding. It's called like the fist in the wind riding stance, and that's pretty much what it feels like. It feels like you just have the fist to the wind. As far as turning goes, whenever I'm dropping into a turn and leaning into it, I feel like this actually gives me a lot better lean angle or lean potential opposed to just a straight across bars. But like I said, this is all based on my personal opinion as far as what I'm coming from with the Street 500. What else do I love about this bike besides everything? I really do like mid controls. So like I said, I did come from a Street 500. I'm not too 100% keen on forward controls. Maybe as they get older and get a more big boy bike, I'll probably like those forward controls. People say it's more of a relaxed ride, but as far as what I'm using it for, just kind of riding around my city, the mid controls, I feel like I have more control of the bike. So that's what I really like, the mid controls. So like I said, the power is one of the main selling points. The paint job, I have the Vivid Black 2020 Iron 1200, so it's a red, white, and blue. Hopefully I can pop up some pictures for you guys while I'm talking about her, just so you can see for yourself. So she does have the red, white, and blue AMF style paint job on the tank, or you know, decal, whatever you want to call it, on the tank. And I really love that style. You know, I am very patriotic. If you want to join with me on my Freedom Friday videos, feel free to do that. It is your right and your freedom to. But I just love the direction that they took in this bike with the red, white, and blue. Honestly, my first thoughts, I probably would have preferred a matte black finish, but this is fine. So I guess I'm kind of dipping into the cons now. Now I do want to tell you guys, I love this bike. The ride is great. It's a lot more powerful than what I'm coming from, so it's a great feeling bike. I do feel very confident when I'm sitting and just cruising. I love this bike. I have a lot to say, of a lot of love, but I am, for this next segment, I am going to kind of break down the nitty-gritty details for you. There's some big old buzzards. And tell you the true cons about this bike, but I don't want you to feel like the cons outweigh the pros in this case. I don't want to be super biased and be like, well, I own the Iron, so I have to love everything about it and there's not one bad thing about it. No. And for most of the cons that I'm going to say is kind of like the cons for Harleys in general. My biggest complaint as far as the cons go is the light. So it is not an LED light yet. I had to kind of, you know, do that aftermarket, and my Harley Davidson is really amazing. You know, they kind of usually work in something for me into the deal. So I got to bring home Freedom is the name of the bike. I got to bring home Freedom with an LED halo daymaker light. So I really love that. It pumps up the aesthetic of the bike. Like I say, aftermarket on this baby is phenomenal. You can go any direction on this bike, and I just think that the LED is not only safer for you as a rider because you're able to see a lot more, but the aesthetic of it is a lot better as well. It's a lot more, like I said, aggressive looking bike. Okay, the second thing I don't like is probably going to be one of my biggest complaints as well is, well, it should be number one actually, is the sound of this bike. So the stock exhaust on this is utterly ridiculous. I did buy this bike brand new. She has 6 miles on her, so maybe she'll work up to her sound, but currently she is very, very quiet. People, you know, they related the Street 500 to a sewing machine, but I honestly feel like the Iron 1200 was quieter than my Street 500. So that's a huge con for me, because, you know, when you are on the road, you want people to hear you. Loud pipes save lives. You want people to hear you because they're going to probably hear you before they see you, and if they're not already seeing you and then your bike is quiet, they probably can't hear you. Some people, I found there's a huge market for quiet exhaust. I don't understand it. That's, like I said, my personal opinion. I wouldn't understand why you would want to buy a cruiser style bike and make sure it's quiet. First of all, as a safety aspect, like I said, people are going to hear you, want people to hear you and see you, but loud pipes are going to help your cause as far as hearing you. And so of course I am going to get some slip-ons for her, because she's just too quiet for me. And again, you know, the sound of the bike also goes in with how you ride the bike, how you shift, because your bike's going to yell at you when you need to shift up, and then she's going to kind of buck when you need to downshift, you know. And this bike just, when she's yelling at me, it's like she's just like she's not me. Like, the aggressive look of this bike does not correlate with her sound at all, and so that's a huge disadvantage for me in my book. But then again, I mean, it is like these two cons that I've had so far, as far as the lighting and the exhaust go, is typical for most Harleys. So now they're starting to, you know, if you buy a nice bigger bike with the big packages, you are going to get the LED features, the lights. You know, I don't even care about the gauges being LEDs, whatever, I don't care. But the light is a big factor for me. You need to know what you're seeing. You know, on one of my videos, the intro, I almost killed myself on a dead possum because I didn't see it, but that was my own fault. I just think that if you had more adequate lighting, it would probably be a lot easier as far as the ride goes. The next thing that I complain about, like I said, I'm still breaking in Freedom, so there's probably a lot that needs to go into her before she truly comes to her prime, you know. And one of those things is the suspension. It is adjustable, but I think that she could have a little bit more give. You know, I'm a girl, I don't have you know, male genitalia. So if you're a dude bouncing around on this bike, I feel bad for you and your package. I just do. It's the best way I can put it. But other than that, I mean, the suspension's decent. Like I said, it also just goes to correlate with the type of roads that you're riding on. I do use the bike to ride around, you know, the greater Houston area. So the roads aren't phenomenal. They're not like dirt and rocks, but there's a lot of bumps and dips and divots, and you feel every single one of those. All right, what else can I say? Another con. So we went over the lights, we went over the exhaust. This seat is a nice looking seat. However, you're gonna be sitting in this saddle for a minute, your butt's gonna hurt. I'm not a super overweight person. I am a hefty girl, because I'm bigger boned. It's not my bones that are big though. I got a pretty decent gut, and I'm pretty, you know, I'm not on the super lean side by any means, but the C is great initially, but I'm sure with time you're probably going to want to look at getting a better seat. The wear is pretty substantial. I'm sure the wear will be pretty substantial, first of all, but it doesn't have too much of a cushion underneath your butt. Like I'm saying, these things are kind of like nitpicking. A lot of the bikes you're going to get, you're going to have problems with them initially. I mean, when I purchased this bike, I absolutely love her. Like I say, I love this bike. I love riding this bike. She's an absolute dream. So I am kind of nitpicking the smaller things. Like I said, most of these complaints can be across the board to Harley in general, as far as like the LED lights and the exhaust that's a little quiet. You are going to have to get either aftermarket exhaust or slip-ons. I totally understand that. So I am nitpicking. The last thing I would probably say is the fuel tank size. I wish that she had a bigger tank, but she gets around. She's not like the 48 and just completely, you know, shot after just about 100 miles. So it's good at the end of the day. She has a pretty decent tank, but if you're just going to be up and riding around town, that's great. Long distance, I mean, I don't think anybody really wants to take their Sportster long distance anyways. It's more of a touring bike kind of thing. That's my personal opinion. So like I said, you know, a lot of the pros, I love this bike, the Iron 1200. I did want to give you an unbiased view at the cons though. Like I said, please just keep in mind that with Harley, a lot of their bikes probably have these same cons as far as like the lighting and the exhaust goes. You do just want to, you know, take into account it's also my opinion, so it is what it is. And then like I said, you want to keep in count that I'm coming from a street 500, so I came from a bike that really didn't have too much power at the end of the day. Coming into the 1200, she'd be a dream for anybody because she does pack a punch and she's great for the stop and go. The only other thing I would wish is that she was a 6-speed bike, 6-speed engine and liquid cooled. She's an air cooled bike, but she does get kind of hot, not like, oh my gosh, like she's gonna burn you just by sitting on it, but if you put your leg in the wrong position, she's gonna let you know that she's the boss and you're not the boss. All right guys, I hope you guys kind of took this review with a grain of salt, sand, I don't know. And just keep in mind, like I said, most of these are my opinions, or all of these are my opinions for sure. She is a phenomenal bike. I would recommend this bike to anybody because I am absolutely intrigued and in love with this bike. She's a great step up if you're coming from the Iron 883, from the Street 500. She doesn't put a lot on your budget in terms of, you know, the financial portion of it, but she's a phenomenal bike. Like I said, just keep in mind the pros. There's probably going to be a lot of pros that a lot of Harley owners have with their bikes, but you can always easily overcome them in the aftermarket. All right guys, my name is Hill the Riveter. If you like this video, please give me that thumbs up. If you like me and want more content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and you'll be notified when I drop new videos. For now, I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Have a good week. Ride safe, my friends. Hashtag always forward motion. You know, if you're new in your riding journey, all you got to keep in mind is if you are moving forward, whether it's at a slow crawl, a jog, or a sprint, at least you're moving forward. Don't give up on your journey because you will get there. Don't let the small frustrations ruin the whole learning journey for you. Have a good rest of the day, and hopefully I will see you guys on the next one.